Welcome back, ladies, ladies, gentlethems, and gentlemen. NPC Corporation has asked me to step in before we begin this month's episode at the recommendation of Warden, our executive writer who converts our field reports into these lovely episodes. For those just joining us, my name is Management. It's so nice to meet you, each and every one of you. This company prides itself on the quality of its work. Very often our product is overlooked, or worse, forgotten. Yet the pride we carry drives us ever forward. It sucks, but there is a tomorrow. A tomorrow full of terror. A tomorrow that could be terrible. Or a tomorrow that equally could be terrific. In the face of two equally possible outcomes, we here at NPC Corp will continue to pull as much terrific from the terror as we can. That said, I do have a quick PSA announcement for today's episode. There will be instances of misgendering our recipient. We understand if you are not in a place where you can with that right now. This net positive experience will be here for you if or when you need it. Considering the sensitive nature and potential invasiveness of our experiences, we here at NPC Corporation take great strides to maintain the anonymity of our recipients. For this month's episode, Warden has taken the liberty to use a few names at random to help mitigate any confusion. The safety of our recipients and our listeners is always at the forefront of our minds, and we will continue to do everything we can to support that safety. Net Positive Corporation was founded on a foundation of inclusivity and diversity. The infinite vibrant spectrum of human experience has always been a blinding light that illuminates a future full of terror. Be strong enough to pull terrific, kicking and screaming from that terror. Be strong enough to be gentle. Thank you, each and every one of you. Old mountain chicken. It's called mountain chicken? Huh. That's a feeling. For sure. Not sure how it feels, but there are definitely feelings. That bag was way better. Was it silk? Whatever it is, it was a good get. I was just at home telling my husband about frogs, and then, bam! I'm at work! Okay, so that means someone is listening to me, right? Or are you just hearing me on the recording? Which also, hi to everyone out there, in case this stays in like it did last time. Which it probably will. Should it? Like, you can cut it, you know? Or we could do multiple takes. We could edit it. There could be a director here, or anyone else here. At the very least, you could send me the story ahead of time. Give me a chance to understand what I'm doing here. I know you can hear me. I'm pretty sure. Right? Someone has to be listening. Besides y'all. You know what? This is probably staying in. Y'all are here for a reason. We have an experience to, experience. So let's see what we have here. Okay. That doesn't make any sense. What? It sucks, but welcome to Net Positive Corporation. Thank you for joining us in the Net Positive Experience recording room. I am Jonathan, your oral liaison. Hello, y'all, each and every all. Our goal here in the recording room is to bring you a net positive experience through sharing the net positive experiences of our net positive experience recipients. With the use of technologies and cutting-edge designs, Net Positive Corporation provides randomly selected recipients a day-changing experience. While the Net Positive Experience is a proprietary service provided by NPC, a Net Positive Experience can be done by anyone, at any time, anywhere.
though we always encourage listeners to attempt net positive experiences with themselves before trying to provide net positive experiences to others. Try telling a bug a secret telepathically. Bring an umbrella on your wedding day. Clean that table you've been meaning to. It's the perfect spot for an altar. Leave somewhere better than you found it. Be on the lookout for more net positive experiences you can try. We believe any time is a great time for a net positive experience. Existence exercises extremes. Each event, an ebb entering and exiting from eve to eve, earning existential emotions. Evading or exchanging the ennui inevitably entangles us in the same echoes anew, the extent of which is eerie. Try trying a net positive experience today! This episode, our recipient brings us to some city, somewhere. Do the names even matter?
Deadname. Huh. So, remember last time when the names were cut out in a perfect rectangle? You were here for the last one, right? It doesn't matter. Well, it looks like that has happened again, except this time the little rectangles have been replaced by what looks like construction paper? And there are handwritten names. That's weird. Really good handwriting. Anyway, here we go.
Our recipient, Marion, lived alone in a functional studio apartment on the second or third floor of what others have called a sketchy apartment complex. She worked from home, spending her days making gender-informative videos on a popular video hosting website, using a colorful digital avatar to edutain an adequate amount of followers. Like many, work occupied most of her time. Like many, bills still piled up. But like some, for a name that had never been hers. Like many, Marion was just getting through it. With what little downtime she had, Marion would pace back and forth from kitchen to computer on her phone to get her steps in, while she answered emails and interacted with her adequate following on a popular chaotic instant messaging social platform. Each time she would pass a stamped envelope stuck to her fridge with a garlic bread-shaped magnet. It contained her name change forms and a personal check. As soon as there's enough in the account, she reminded herself. Almost there. She assured herself, again. Notifications flashed. Her server exploded with congratulations and cute emojis of horses in response to her most recent video on the history of high-heeled shoes. The cracked screen of her phone suddenly switched from a scrolling feed of gratitudes to an incoming call. The caller ID read Dad, frowny face emoji. Marion's family rarely called her. She also didn't reach out as much as she could. Work took up too much of her time, she would tell herself. She reserved her excitement and tapped the green answer call button at the top of her screen. Hello? Marion answered.
John, I was just thinking I hadn't heard from my son in too long. How are things?
The voice from the other end of the line yelled, obviously on speakerphone. Things are good. Just working too much. It's expensive out here, Dad. But I'm getting by. I almost have enough saved up for my new ID, and I'm up to 200,000 followers, which means...
That's great! It sounds like you're having a fun time with your friends.
She was interrupted.
Your mother could be doing better, by the way, since you asked. Ha 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 ha!
Marion stopped pacing. Marion tried to begin.
See, your mother here just inherited the old family coal mine outside of southeastern city. It was your great-grandcousin Sammy's mine. Isn't that right, honey? Great guy. You remember him, right, son? See, your mother wants to fix the old place up and rent it out to those city clowns. Everyone is doing it. She saw it on TV. Yes, I told him, honey, everybody is doing it. You see, it's an old mine. Lots of garbage all over the place. Like this. Do you see this? What clown put a tree here? This is why I always say, if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. You see what I'm saying? Now see, your mother was thinking she could use a big, strong man to help move all this. Help slap up a few coats of paint. And well, it sounds to me like you finally flipped enough burgers or whatever you lazy kids do nowadays to come visit your family. We need you home on Monday.
shouted Dad, frowny face emoji. Through evenly spaced breaths, Marion replied, "Well, Dad, even if I did have the money for a train, it would take like 6 days. I don't think I..."
The excuses again! You're going to abandon your mother in her time of need because you're scared of the big, scary airport? Man up! I am tired of how lazy your generation is. You just told me you had enough money for your little hobbies, so I know you have enough money to see your family and help your poor mother. Now see, I know I did not raise no coward. Be a good son. Southeastern City, Monday.
Clicked. The voice from the other end of the line was replaced by the sound of notifications. Marion's server now filled up with more little-known facts about the Ottoman Empire. "I'll see what I can do," she whispered, then pocketed her phone. Held back tears now flowed as she did her best to ignore the envelope on her fridge. Again. Marion arrived at the airport on a Sunday night with a single carry-on backpack made from a stuffed shark from a popular Swedish home furnishing store, and her round-trip tickets. Check-in went as expected. The confusion over why she didn't look like what the check-in attendant thought the name on the ID should look like lasted for a little over an hour. Marion attempted to calmly explain her situation. As the time passed, 2 more attendants, a handful of security personnel, and a manager became involved. Eventually, the manager, after he had ran her ID, cleared her for travel. "We would like to apologize for any inconvenience to your trip today," he said with a trained smile. "Please enjoy your flight," and waved her toward the terminals and security line. She shuffled through the queue along with the rest of the crowd, focused on the flashing red and green lights of the metal detector in the distance, fortifying herself against the images of security agents asking random passengers to follow them in her peripheries. She was placing her belongings on the conveyor belt when 2 of the agents from the check-in counter earlier approached and informed Marion that she had been selected for additional security screenings. The full-body scanner then announced suspicious abnormality, leading the 2 agents to perform a full-body pat-down. Finally, through security, Marion tried to regain some of her composure by ordering the smallest coffee on the menu at a popular cafe kiosk.
"I got a drip coffee for Marianne,"
the barista shouted out before starting the next drink. Marion took her coffee with a polite thank you. It was a small comfort. She posted a picture of her new nom de plume to the delight of her followers. Text scrolled in excitement on her little server at the revelation that Marion had hands, squashing any rumors that she was an AI chatbot that had gained sentience. Marion landed in Southeastern City the next morning. The middle seat flight had been sleepless, but relatively uneventful. There were a few texts back and forth in the family chat that included timing information and further instructions, but had devolved into the rest of the family group spamming juice-related reaction memes. Marion's mom had brought up that Marion had dropped a glass of juice when she was 2. Again. Once off the plane, she made her way to the airport entrance as per the instructions in the text sandwiched between 2 "Has this ever happened to you?" GIFs. Stopping briefly as the coffee and flight had caught up to her. Exhausted, Marion made her way to the woman's room, but stopped herself. She remembered where she was. She remembered she was home. She made her way to the men's room. Once outside, Marion was able to find her parents by following the familiar shouting that had always haunted family outings. Her father was arguing with another driver over a parking spot that they had both pulled into at the same time. Her father's shouting drowned out the ticks of the blinker from the other vehicle. Marion approached the cars. "Dad, it's okay. I'm right here," she said while waving.
"John, you're safe! Get in, quick! These city maniacs can't drive! They're out here trying to kill everyone! Get in! Can't even use a parking lot!"
Marion took one of the back seats in the silver mid-sized SUV.
"Your seatbelt, sweetie, seatbelt! They made it a law!"
Marion's mother warned from the passenger seat before the silver mid-sized SUV drove off. As Marion clicked her seatbelt in place, her father continued his tirade.
"You see? This is why I hate you living so far away. Everyone in the city is crazy. I can't believe someone tried to attack us over a parking spot. I'm just glad you're safe now, son. How was the flight?"
The tires of the silver mid-sized SUV squealed as Marion's father peeled through the airport parking lot and onto the main road. "It was fine, she began.
See, I told you it would be fine. Honey, see, I told you he would be fine. Everyone is scared of something. See, I'm scared of clowns. But if I let that stop me, I'd never leave the house. See what I'm saying? Because the world is full of clowns. Like that clown back there. Because of a parking spot. The nerve of those clowns. You have to face those fears, son. See, you took a plane and didn't die. You faced your fears, right? Right?
Yeah. Right. Right, Marion responded. That's how people get shot, John. 1 minute they're yelling at you in a parking lot, and then they bring out a gun. Every time, John. That's why they shouldn't give me a gun, Marion's mom added. Yeah, I know, Mom. How have you been? Marion asked.
I know she's better now that you're here,
Marion's father answered.
She is so excited to finally get that dusty old mine all fixed up. Remember, she's gonna rent it out to tourists? It's like a hotel, but on the internet. It's complicated. Your uncle knows all about it. But after I get it all cleaned up, the money will roll in from those city clowns. My days of getting up early for work are over, that's for sure. Isn't that right, honey? That's why we are so happy you're here. This is such a big opportunity for us. And you get to help. Aren't you excited? You get to do something you can be proud of. I would be proud if I was you,
her father finished. He stared at her from the rearview mirror as he merged onto the highway. Yeah, totally. Marion tried to agree. She turned her attention to her phone that lit up with notifications that her fans had posted fan art of her online avatar in historically accurate 10th century Persian cavalry regalia. Oh no, honey! No, put that away! It's illegal to be on your phone in the car. They made it a law. They'll take you away to prison forever. You can't do that anymore. You know, it's because it's the glare on the window. It distracts the driver, and then they crash, and then they die. It happens every time, warned her mother. Marion set her phone to silent and pocketed it. The drive stayed silent after that. Her parents stared stoically forward. The dense buildings spread further apart with each passing mile until fields and groves and hills and ponds overtook the landscape. Marion had grown up in a small suburb near southeastern city. She was used to seeing the grass sway in the wind, used to seeing the vast lots of crushed cars stacked neatly, used to seeing barn after barn with collapsed roofs from rotten wood. She wasn't used to going this deep into the mountains, though. The abandoned fields of grass and demolished cars transformed into thick woods. She didn't even know they had family out this far. Whoop whoop! Red and blue lights flashed from an antiquated police cruiser behind them.
Oh, now what? Don't you have murderers to catch?
Marion's father yelled at the rearview mirror. Oh, Jack, you have to be careful.
I know, Joanne, I know.
Both vehicles pulled over to the shoulder of the highway. The door to the old police cruiser creaked open. The officer exited his vehicle and gave a quick look around through a pair of large reflective aviator sunglasses before he made his way to the driver's side door of the silver mid-sized SUV. Window down, the officer ordered while flicking the wide brim of his standard-issued hat.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Here's my license and registration, sir.
Marion's father tried to shove his paperwork through the window as it slowly slid down. The officer stood motionless, his hands firmly in the pockets of his standard-issue coat.
Now, why you think I pulled you all over today?
Marion's father still held his identification awkwardly out of the window.
Oh, I'm sure the old lead foot here just got a little heavy, Officer Hirschfeld? It's congenital, you see. My dad had it, his dad had it. It runs in the family. Just not too fast, you know what I mean? Our son back there probably has it too. We just can't seem to get him behind the wheel. You know how sensitive kids are nowadays.
The sheriff stuck his head through the car window to get a better look at the back seat. The small bundle of documents were knocked from the hand of Marion's father to the floor of the silver mid-sized SUV. Marion affected a practiced smile and gave a small wave.
Sheriff.
It's Sheriff Hirschfeld. Now, ain't that something? The sheriff took a step back and came to rest on his arms that leaned through the open window. Now, I pulled you over because I ain't never seen y'all before. What kind of business you three got in my town? Marion's hand instinctively reached for her phone. Her mother's earlier warnings had caused Marion to hesitate. The only thing she knew to do was remain calm. Get things figured out once they were safe.
Oh, of course, sir. Me and the wife just bought a couple acres here in the real country. See, we bought it at the auction. It's the first time we've owned land, you see. Well, real land, you know. Out here in the real world, with real people. You know what I'm saying. That's why we bought the land out here, isn't that right, honey? See, we figured if our taxes were going anywhere, they should go to real hard-working hands. I guess you could say, we sign your paycheck now. You know what I'm saying?
Marion continued to stay quiet. Just bought a couple acres, huh? That's a pretty good one. It's a real good one, actually. I'd say it's even better the second time. Say, maybe you could help me understand why this is the second time today a car full of people I don't know rolls through my town saying the exact same thing. The sheriff was so close that Marion's father's reflection was the only thing visible in the imposing aviators.
Ah, looks like they beat us here, honey. You know, see, we bought the plot with my brother, Orson. Was it Orson that you pulled over? See, I told you the old left foot in this family. Didn't I tell him, honey? See, it's like a whole family thing. Nothing is more important than family, but I don't need to tell you that. Yeah, we even got the boy out of that disgusting city. Bunch of clowns in the city. You know what I'm saying? Sheriff Hirschfeld?
Oh, I know exactly what you've been saying. So let me give you some advice. My town is a nice, quiet town. And it's gonna stay quiet, you hear? I don't take kindly to troublemakers. Trouble makes noise. Noise makes things loud. When things get loud around these parts, I have to get involved. I ain't happy when I gotta get involved, you understand?
Now see here, you can't talk to me like...
The sheriff rested his hand on the handle of his holstered sidearm. I believe I asked you people a question. You can either answer it here at the jailhouse, but I ain't repeating myself.
Yes, sir.
Good. Have a real quiet rest of your day now, the sheriff said, knocking on the roof of the silver mid-sized SUV twice before walking back to his antiquated cruiser and driving off. Marion's father gathered his little plastic cards and paperwork that had been scattered across the floor. The car remained quiet as it pulled back onto the road. Marion's father broke the silence once the old beat-up police cruiser had disappeared into the distance.
Can you believe how bad things have gotten these days? There's criminals everywhere. I think he thought we were criminals. You see that? Oh, honey, he was just doing his job. The world is dangerous. I think he was doing a good job. I'm glad we can all sleep better knowing that there are still men like him around.
The weight on Marion's chest lightened. The montage of familiar civilian videos retreating to the back of her mind but never forgotten. Her heart rate finally dropping cleared her head. I thought you said you inherited the mine. What was that about an auction?
Oh, you see, it's a tax thing. Your uncle knows all about it. You'll understand it when you're older,
her father answered.
Enough, sweetie,
Marion's mother warned.
You heard what that sharp-dressed policeman said. We have to be quiet in the car. Did you see? He had a gun. What do I always tell you? That's why we should listen to that handsome young man.
Marion quietly clutched her backpack closer to her chest as the car drove down the road deeper into the thick woods.
Ooh, yeah, hey, time out, pause, cut, I guess. Can I just get a second? How does, the bathroom situation work? Oh, thank you. Just give me 1 minute. Hello! Management. Again. think this is a great time to introduce a brand new Net Positive Corporation Net Positive Experience segment, Listener Emails. Let's see what listeners have sent in since last episode. Sorry about that. Thank you for your patience. I am okay now. We can keep going. Thank you.
The silver mid-sized SUV pulled up to a shaded mine. Any evidence of a human touch to the surrounding area had been taken back by the woods, which made the large, pristine, red, heavy-duty truck with a smooth, scratchless bed that had arrived before Marion's group look instantly out of place. 3 familiar people stood next to the collapsing mine opening that was propped up by a large old yew tree. Marion's aunt, uncle, and aunt were family that she knew were family, but had long forgotten how exactly they were related to her, and at this point she was too afraid to ask.
Orson, you old card! See, honey, I told that officer it was Orson.
Marion's father beamed getting out of the car to give her uncle a firm handshake. Her mother greeted the aunt and aunt with hugs and cheek kisses. Marion scanned the forest that surrounded her. She took a moment to take a picture of the old dirt road covered in vines and branches and underbrush they had just barely been able to drive down. The attempt to upload the picture to a popular photo-sharing app failed. She wondered how long ago the signal had been lost. She returned her phone to her pocket and joined the rest of the family. A faint cold air flowed from the cave as she approached the group.
Oh, there he is! You've grown so much! And the hair is cute!
Marion's aunt greeted her with a smile and a cheek kiss. Marion tucked a lock of hair behind her ear and smiled. Marion began before her mother shouted,
It's Eliza, John! You remember your Aunt Eliza, don't you?
Marion's mother was transfixed on Marion's aunt. Marion's aunt was busy apathetically watching Marion's father and uncle compare 2 large metal flashlights they had brought along. They were arguing over whether a longer flashlight or a bigger flashlight was better.
She used to change your diapers. Do you remember that? Of course you remember that. Isn't that right, Eliza?
Marion's mom asked with a chuckle as Marion's aunt rolled her eyes and started walking towards the mouth of the mine.
Your son is here. Can we just get on with it?
Marion's aunt said, walking in between the 2 men, breaking the cycle of discussion on the merits of a wider versus focused light source.
Chicks, am I right?
Marion's uncle joked while nudging her in the side as the group entered the mine. The 2 men took the lead, each shining his flashlight into the depths of the cavern. The carved, dark stone and rotting wood supports caught the light in weird angles. The unused mine track half buried in shadow and gravel. Marion's father began gesturing with the flashlight.
See, your great-grandcousin Sammy left your mother this mine because he knew it would bring us together. Give us a reason to hope again. Now, we definitely have our work cut out, but once we clear out all this old garbage and slap a few coats of paint on the walls, those city clowns will pile in by the truckload.
Marion flicked on her phone's light and pointed it towards the ground after tripping over the rusted cart track. The group made slow progress deeper and deeper into the mine. The carved walls transitioned to rough, wet, raw rock the deeper they traveled. The tiny speck of light from the mine entrance behind them disappeared around a winding bend. The group stopped in a small chamber. The light from Marion's phone shimmered off old, wet coal dust that appeared to coat the entirety of the walls. The chamber led to 2 small tunnels. The inky residue extended as far as Marion could see down the winding paths.
That sounds amazing, Dad, and it sounds like you guys have all this planned out. But I don't think I'm going to be as much help as you think. There's a tree holding up the way in. The road here needs to be cleared. I don't think anyone's come down this way in like 100 years. Electricity needs to be put in. I'm pretty sure you need a bunch of ventilation when you're this deep down. I have no idea where to even start bringing this up to code. You need like
a whole construction crew with machinery and permits and training. Look, the walls are wet. You can't very well paint wet walls, can you? The group stood around Marion. The echoes of their shoes crunching into the gravel faded, the sound replaced by a faint, wet whoosh coming from the gooey, slag-covered walls.
Of course we can, son. We're going to be able to do anything.
The noise from the walls grew louder. Marion's father continued, his hands outstretched.
There comes a point in every young man's life where he has to decide what's important to him. It makes me proud, son, to know you chose your family.
Yeah, no, this is giving some serious serial killer vibes. What is going on? You said you needed my help. Marion pleaded around her. No one would meet her eyes. The cool air of the mine shifted back and forth.
Name for Boone. Boone for name.
Echoed from the tunnels. Marion froze in place. The words ran through her body. She felt them more than she heard them. Her mother and aunt were both in tears. Her uncle stood cross-armed and tapped his foot. Marion's aunt stared intensely at the ground. Marion's father waved the flashlight around, looking disgusted at the walls.
I know it may be hard to understand right now, and I wish more than anything I could take your place. I just need you to know we are all proud of you, son. It's like you're finally part of the family.
Name for Boone. Boone for name.
Marion couldn't move. She couldn't think. She stood there. All she could manage was to whisper, "No."
Name for Boone.
I give you the name of my son!
Marion's father shouted into the tunnel.
John Wayne!
The chamber fell silent. Marion tried to scream. She tried to run. She tried to do anything. Even her lungs refused air. She waited. The entire chamber waited. Her uncle impatiently broke the silence.
Where's the $1 million?
The chamber echoed again with a low growl from deep in the tunnel.
Boone for name.
What gives, Jack? You said we'd get $1 million!
Marion's uncle asked while punching her father in the shoulder.
Name accepted.
Marion gasped. The air burned as she took short, sharp breaths. Marion fell to the ground. The old rusted cart track scraped her legs. Marion stared with wide, unblinking eyes down the tunnel, frozen.
Well, there you go, see, Orson? All we needed to do was be patient. Hard work always pays off in the end.
Name accepted.
Slick tendrils of coal sludge sprang from one of the tunnels and wrapped around Marion's father. His long flashlight shattered as it fell to the ground. The tendrils dragged him out of the chamber and deeper into the mine.
What is going on? Eliza, what is that thing? Where did Jack go?
Marion's mother screamed.
Name accepted.
Tendrils snatched Orson. His large flashlight fell hard to the ground and shattered.
Joanne, I can't with you right now. Anne, deal with your sister. If the Whole wants them, the Whole can have them.
Marion's aunt frantically searched for the way back. The winding entrance to the chamber obscured by the ichor-coated walls.
Name accepted. Name accepted. Name accepted.
Tendrils erupted from the beckoning void. Marion's aunt, Marion's mother, and then finally Marion's aunt, each pulled into the dark. Marion watched her family one after another disappear down the abandoned shaft beyond the reach of her phone's small light. She looked around her. The slag-covered rock walls moved like flesh. She tried to get up. Her legs wouldn't move. Her body wouldn't move. The air started to move again. the voice returned.
Boom for name. Name for...
A sudden notification alert on Marion's phone startled her. The red and green lights caught the edge of the cart tracks half buried in the gravel that led back to the entrance. Marion jumped to her feet and bolted back through the cavern. She ran into walls, tripped on the rusted cart track. More cuts, more bruises. She sprinted. She stumbled. She didn't stop. Her heart pounded in her ears. The tiny speck of light from the entrance grew until the afternoon sun blinded Marion as she broke free from the darkness. She ran. Her shallow breaths gave way to sobs. A man stood outside the mine. A man in a wide-brimmed hat and a pair of large reflective aviator sunglasses. Marion slammed into the sheriff. In her blinded frenzy, she screamed and swung her backpack frantically. Whoa, 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 whoa there, ma'am. I'm Sheriff Hirschfeld. I'm with the county police. I need you to put the fish down and remain calm. Sheriff Hirschfeld said, slow and clear. His hands raced in front of his body. Marion fell to the ground. She tried to open her phone, her thumb shaking over the lock screen. Guttural cries she wished could be words flowed from her mouth. Ma'am, are you hurt? They're gone. Who's gone? Them other folks? The ones you drove in with? Marion nodded. Her words returned to her in between labored breaths. She raised a hand and pointed at the mine entrance. Down there. There's something down there. Something took them. Something. Sheriff Hirschfeld kneeled down and draped his standard issue coat around Marion. I know. Right now, I need you to breathe, ma'am. In. Out. There you are. You are safe right now, you hear? Keep breathing. There you go. Wait here. I'll be right back. I ain't going far. Marion tried to grab at the sheriff as he got up and walked toward the mine, her fatigued arm suddenly too heavy to lift. She watched the sheriff stop at the mouth of the cave next to the ancient yew tree. He waved his flashlight around as he peered into the still darkness, never stepping past the threshold. After a moment, he hung his shaking head low, removed his hat, and returned to Marion. Ma'am, they gone. I am sorry for your loss, but I need you to tell me what happened. Can you stand? The sheriff offered Marion a hand. Marion nodded, took the offered hand, and shakily got up from the lush ground onto unstable legs. She leaned on the sheriff as they made their way to the parked police cruiser. Marion recounted what happened the best she could. Her words would fall out unfettered, and then sudden, silent, long pauses. Tears. Too many words, not enough words. The sheriff nodded and responded with polite uh-huhs as he helped Marion onto the passenger seat of the police cruiser. Well, ma'am, I'd like to say that everything you just said is impossible. An unbelievable fable, exacerbated through the lens of fear. Heck, I'd like to say this is the first I've ever heard of anything like it. You've lost a lot today, and the only consolation I can provide is the truth. Truth is, that happened. I've seen, met, and known of many that have ventured into that mine. I've seen and heard of very few that have walked out. Whatever is down there is old. I don't think anybody has ever had a name for it. It always makes the same request. It offers anything and everything for the price of a name. They found it down there back when this was a boom town. A lot of money hit this place real quick. Brought a lot of greed with it. Brought a lot of people who just wanted to take from this place. They were pulling trainfuls of coal out of here when they found whatever lives down there. It made the same offer you heard. Their greed took over. They sold each other to the mine. Names became all they used at the card tables. After a while, everyone who would sell their neighbor eventually got sold themselves. The only ones left in town were those who did not participate. They tried to forget the mine ever existed, but somehow, someway, somebody always gets an inkling to come from wherever they are to here, always to give a name. What happens to them after they They ain't never heard from again. Marion hugged her backpack close. The sound of 2 large trucks echoed through the trees in the distance. What happens now? Sheriff Hirschfeld put back on his hat and gave the brim a small flick. Now we get you back home. There's gonna be some paperwork and a missing persons report to file, but we can talk about that after we get you back to town. We didn't live in town. I'm sorry. They told me they inherited this place. I flew in last night, and then we came here, and I'm sorry. That's all right. You ain't gotta apologize for others, and it sounds like I wasn't the only one they was bending the truth with. But since that's the case, I can get your statement and information on the way to the airport. Marion nodded. The sheriff closed her door and drove carefully off down the barely visible road. They passed 2 tow trucks Sheriff Hirschfeld had called in. The sheriff patiently went over the now standard process with Marion as they made their way back to southeastern city. The antiquated police cruiser parked in front of the airport entrance. The sheriff held open Marion's door and reassured her that he would take care of what he could and stay in contact. Marion thanked the sheriff. Shock had completely set in. Marion fumbled, trying to get out of the vehicle. The sheriff caught her hand. He let her lean on his shoulder as they made their way into the airport together. Sheriff Hirschfeld stayed with Marion until she was safely past the security check. The entire check-in process expedited in the presence of a badge. Marion thanked the sheriff again. She returned his standard-issue coat and gave him a hug. The sheriff awkwardly reciprocated the gesture before he disappeared back into the crowd. Marion ordered the smallest cup of coffee from a popular cafe kiosk, this time spelling out her name for the barista.
Oh, like from Marion Explains? She's so good! You should check out her channel!
Shouted the barista over the squeal of steaming milk. Marion sat in front of a large window while holding her warm cup of coffee. She watched the airplanes and airport personnel dance around the tarmac as she waited for her flight to be called. Absent-mindedly, she checked her phone, which had hundreds of notifications that had flooded in since regaining service. She swiped them away one after the other. She would deal with them all later. Right now, the only thing she could do was get home. She stopped swiping. The final notification was a text alert in the family chat from Dad, frowny face emoji. Marion's curiosity won out over her fear. She opened the family chat. Dad, frowny face emoji, had written,
I know it was short notice, but it made me and your mom so happy to get to see you.
A message from Marion's mother popped up.
Oh, sweetie, yes. Thank you so much.
Heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji. Messages came through from Marion's aunt, uncle, and aunt, each expressing gratitudes and well wishes. A second message from Dad, frowny face emoji, came through.
Hey, I know how hard you've been working, so I sent you the money for the plane tickets and maybe a little something extra too.
Winky face emoji.
We are proud of you, Marion. When you need anything, just text, okay?
Marion's hand covered her mouth in shock. Questions raced through her mind. She responded with an okay before she realized it. 3 dots shook next to Dad frowny face emoji's name.
We've sacrificed a lot so you could have a better future. We want to keep seeing what that looks like. Keep in touch, sweetheart.
Marion's flight was announced over the airport PA.
P.S. Your uncle was wondering if you could tell your followers about an exciting new business opportunity called Namecoin.
Marion shut off her phone. She didn't know what was going on. She would deal with everything once she got home. All she knew, as she disappeared through the gate, was that if those messages were true, she was sending out her new ID paperwork as soon as possible.
And then she did.
Thank you for joining us for this episode from the Net Positive Experience recording room. It has been said that children are meant to be seen and not heard. When you are not heard, it is impossible to feel seen. To feel seen is to feel known. And once the fog of the unknowable is lifted, those scary things feel manageable. So keep listening here for more Net Positive experiences. I've been Jonathan. We have been Net Positive Corporation, And this has been quite the experience. Remember, it sucks, but
That was a roller coaster of emotions, and I don't like roller coasters. Seriously, you guys have to send me this stuff ahead of time. I was super not ready for that. I know you can hear me. You turned on the bathroom, which is a weird thing to say. The bathroom being a freestanding door in the middle of the room cannot be up to code. Wait, is it? How would I even find out? I don't know. I talk for a living. That part doesn't matter. I know you're listening. I need you to send me the copy ahead of time, okay? And one more thing. How did y'all mess up the email? The email is netpositivecorporation@gmail.com. I don't know where the one you posted goes, but our email is netpositivecorporation@gmail.com. Actually, one more thing, because we also have a bunch of social medias people can check out, like our Blue Sky account, or our YouTube channel, or join our Discord server, or our Instagram. They could follow us on TikTok. Maybe not that one, but the other ones are still around. All they would have to do is look up Net Positive Corporation, or send an email to netpositivecorporation@gmail.com to stay up to date. And you know what? One more thing.